Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'd like to be discussing a subject that is, without any kind of research or historical backing, I claim no veracity to any of the claims made in this video. This is purely an exercise in extrapolation. It is my belief that things like holocausts or genocides or other terrible atrocities do not occur as the result of a single individual's terrible evil. Or rather, not necessarily prerequisiting a terrible, vicious, evil person to commit. I think these things can happen with the best of intentions, or or also because people do not simply face corruption. My prayers to the victims of the Holocaust. This is just purely extrapolation. I make no claims that this is how things have happened historically, but I can imagine, perhaps in a semi-fictional scenario, that during the Holocaust, various groups of people, for their safety, as well as for various political interests, were being moved outside of their current area of living. For example, let us take the Jews living in the area. They were considered a group that was undesirable, and historically I have seen some pictures and some documentaries talking about how Jews, when they were relocated to concentration camps, were relocated under the premise of improving their lot. They were relocated to better areas more suitable for them. At least that was what the propaganda said, possibly to get people to go along with it. But let us say that you have this plot of land, and you are the owner of a plot of land, and the German government is moving many groups of such people into this land and paying you for the number of people that you take in with you into this land. Let's say they give you a sum of money for each person that you accept onto your property and promise to take care of them. If for every person who I accept I receive $10, it is in my interests to take as many people as I can in order to maximize the amount of money that I produce. But land, like many others, is a finite resource. There are limits to how many people I can take into my care. And once the land is completely full, once I have reached maximum capacity for how many people I may have under my dominion, then the money stops coming. Things might become tight financially. Maybe I can't afford to pay for people's food or other living expenses. And conveniently, if I do cut back on people's living expenses, such as for food, housing, clothing, during heating, during very cold winter months when historically people have been frozen in concentration camp, this would also, in a terrible way, be convenient for me, because now I have more room and more space for which I can take more people into my care and receive more money in. So immediately we can see that with no foul play intended, I can, simply by turning a blind eye to the state of the situation, can cause tremendous pain and suffering for an endless amount of people. And I could essentially commit a genocide this way, simply by turning a blind eye to the suffering of the people for the sake of my own gain. And I might very rightfully not know of these problems. Maybe the people under me who are reporting these things are telling me these things in order for me to hold them in higher graces. It's probably not just one person doing all of this. It's probably a group of people, each of them doing what is in their best interests. And it could build up into a situation in which they are being neglected. Now, what about the gas chambers? Well, they supposedly used Zyklon B, which was a rat and pest poison at the time, and it was believed that this was a deliberate attempt by the propaganda at the time to show that these people were less than human, that they were pests. And that fits the narrative of the time very well, unfortunately. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. I I hope that this does not be seen as if I am making light of this suffering. But it is entirely possible that the person applying the Zyklon believed that he was performing routine maintenance and simply dropping the Zyklon D tablets down a hole, and that this would spread out and fumigate the area. It is entirely possible that he himself did not know that there were people being killed by it. At the same time, the Sonderkommandos, or shower commandos, shower leaders, who were taking people and taking their clothes and taking them ready for the showers, which actually were gas chambers, might very well not themselves know that these were gas chambers. They might have themselves believed that they were showers. And many of you will say, how could you not know? How could you not know? Well, how could you not know that the iPhones you use are produced with slave labor and other... the cars you drive are produced with unfree labor in prisons? How could you not know? How could you not do something about it? How could you not stand up to injustice? Because truthfully, if you do, you won't really make a meaningful change in any way. All you will do is you will add your body to the pile. That's the sad reality. We have been conditioned to believe that standing up against injustice means taking a direct approach and putting ourselves at risk in order to combat it. Because by doing so, it's easy to suppress. It's easy to suppress such dissent. This is why individualism is pushed so much, because it's easy for people to be suppressed in this way, to think that they need to personally take a stand and put a stop to it, whereas these sorts of problems tend to involve massive populations of people. So it is in this way that a genocide could happen without any malintent or cruelty intended. All it takes is for certain people to just follow orders, to systematically recognize that there is nothing they can do to fight back against overwhelming forces, and for the German government to conveniently turn a blind eye to people suffering in these concentration camps. And that is the lesson that I have taken from my studies in history. I'd like to know what you think. Of course, I am not suggesting that there was any absence of bigotry in these situations, but it could well be absent and have these terrible atrocities still occurring. Please let me know what you think. Can you think of any other examples in which an atrocity might be committed simply by people turning a blind eye to things or just doing their job? If I have comments, and they are less than 100, you have my personal guarantee that if I am alive, I will be reading them and responding to them. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Please have a nice day. Be blessed. I love you.